All right, everyone, we are now streaming live on YouTube, just for your awareness, so that we meet the public meeting requirements.
I'm sorry, what was that? What was that, Joe?
Tell Chief Patrick I'm still mad.
From Trailer. 41980 foot.
Hey, everybody. Steve just had to do a quick reboot, so we just need a minute.
Good morning. Are we on?
Good morning.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Sorry, naturally, computer issues. Let me turn that volume down so that I have volume.
I feel your pain, Steve.
Let's see, how many people we got? Yeah, it looks like I think.
38.
Yeah. All right, let's call the meeting to order. Sorry for my delay. We have Lisa, can you do the roll call, or do we have someone else?
I can do it. No problem. Morning, everybody. Okay, we have Steve Green, Lisa Rafferty, I am here. Randy Kimbrough,
Here.
Brad Hankey.
I'm here on
Brad's
Brad's
here.
behalf.
Oh,
No, you're
we got-
not. Brad's here. Brad's here.
I thought
Brad's
you weren't
here.
coming.
All right,
I'm
no
here for a
fighting.
few minutes.
No fighting, kids. Got it. Okay, Eric Burchak.
I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Commander Brumfield.
I'm here.
Hi, Deb. Jackie Costa. Mark Christie. Adam, you're here for Mark?
I'm actually here too, Lisa. It's Mark.
Oh, nice job, guys.
There you go.
Lindy Bird is not here. Nancy,
Nancy's on to Lindy.
Chief Papish,
I'm here.
morning, Chief. Chief Shep. Chief Garcia Polo. Chief Bobek. Lieutenant Leff.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Chief Elliott. Or Chief Robertson. Sorry, Robinson. My bad. Jim Heath.
Here.
Hi, Jim. George Belasco. TJ Martin.
Present. Good morning, everybody.
TJ. Nick DeSico.
Here.
Hi, Nick. Ron Barlow. No. Mike Deaver or Dave Markford.
Lisa, this is Wally. I'm here. I had to switch off onto my cell phone. I wasn't getting a good connection, but I'm in now.
Okay, gotcha, Jackie and Wally. Did I hear you for?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Okay. All right, Steve, we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you all. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the November 4th minutes. Those were emailed out. Do we have any corrections or any errors found on those? We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make the motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that. Randy Kimbrough.
And any abstentions? Let's do it that way. Any
What is everybody
opposed?
Brad on that one?
Don't give them any ideas.
Must have been on mute. I couldn't say anything, you know.
We like it that way, Brad. You know.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, so the motion carried, the minutes are approved. And now nominations and elections for the vice chair. It's an odd number year, hopefully not an odd year.
I nominate Lisa Rafferty.
I will second that nomination.
So who nominated and who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Jackie Costa nominated, TJ Martin seconded.
Thank you, sir. Any other nominations?
What are we nominating for? I missed it. It didn't come through.
Elections for vice chair. So it's a 2-year term, every odd number of years. Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, we'll move on to the election.
Just by acclamation.
Sir?
Wouldn't it just be by acclamation, seeing as there's nobody else running?
Well, I don't know, the bylaws require an election, so it'll be pretty easy. So any opposed to Lisa Rafferty as being vice chair?
Don't say anything, Brad.
I was
Any
just going to say.
All right, hearing nothing on either of those two, I will go ahead and assume that all the voting members unanimously elected Lisa Rafferty to vice chair unless I hear anything further. Going once, twice, and thrice. So congratulations, Lisa. You are sentenced to 2 more years.
Sentenced. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Well, that was easy. Countywide template.
I sent this out to everybody about an hour ago.
So is anyone from Marks here?
Yes, Arlen Bradford is here from Marks.
Hey, Arlen, we had some discussion regarding the countywide template. I think a lot of the confusion really has to do with whether people realize that it's great to have these channels, and if you want channels that are on a different system, you still have to have permission and pay whatever fees are due, or have your radio programmed by an authorized programmer for those systems in order to be on the system. So the template includes conventional, P25 conventional, P25 on trumped on Marks, Cleveland, and the Parma radio system. So if you wanted all those channels, you'd have to get with each of those 3 system administrators and adhere to whatever their requirements are.
Well, Steve, I think the basic thing is that we all know, and I think it just got a little mixed up in the confusion of it. There are certain things that right now, as of today, we don't have to pay a fee for, and that is the 2 first regional zones in Cleveland, the Cleveland and then the MTACs and the Caicos. Those are being given away for free for years. And part of the memo that was originally written and, all of that stuff. The other things that we've involved in that was per Dick and the group there, we also started including some of the LE comms and the 2 towable towers in case something came up where those were put in place. And the reason for that was originally, it was just MTACs and Caicos. The problem we ran into during the RNC was without spending the money, people couldn't communicate with state agencies on a quick basis. So what we started doing was building in the LE comms so that if there was an issue, we could communicate with the assumption and the knowing that if something big happened, that city that used that would be responsible for paying for it. If Marks didn't deem it a necessity for the event. So for example, if I decided to use an LE comm for, my use during the RNC or during one of these debates, I'm liable for the charges for that because it wasn't a Marks sponsored event. It wasn't part of Marks. However, if the Columbus police came up here and said, we need to be able to talk to Cleveland, Marks, we want Cleveland to join us on an LE comm, then they could do that. And then it wouldn't be a charge to us because it was for that event. It was sponsored by the user of Marks. So that was the design behind that. And then the 2 towable towers were put in place specifically because the towable towers could replace a site if something were to go down on Marks. So that's how that laid out. Now that's in email. You got the email from Dick about that and Rick regarding those channels as well. Anything after that, yes, you incur costs on those systems. And that's where the confusion came in, is people didn't understand. They would hand out a countywide template and say, I want all this in my radio. And it's like, no, you don't get that. You get this unless you're subscribing to Mark or subscribing to Cleveland or subscribing to Parma. And so that's where the confusion came into play. I think what happened here was a case of somebody asked Arlen to do something, and he was throwing up a flag saying, well, wait a minute, I don't know about all this, you know? And so from that standpoint, it caused a whole bunch of nothing is what it caused, because once it got funneled through the chains, everybody clarified and it got resolved. But I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we understand that's how Marks was laid out. And Cleveland is much the same way. You get the two regional zones, zone 63 and 64, as well as our 61 for interop with our city agencies, if you choose. After that, it depends on what your subscription level is. If you're a full-time user, you can get the ACOM zones. If you're not, you're not going to get the ACOMs. It's how I, you know, control who's on the system and how we create interoperability. So from that standpoint, that's the clarification that needed to be made. At least from what I understand is the issue with the countywide template being on the agenda here. So if I missed something in that detail, please let me know so I can clarify or fill out anything that's missing.
No, I think you covered that part of it well, Brad. This has gone back a couple, 3 meetings where I've heard from at least one other agency didn't understand how come they couldn't get their radio just programmed. So I think there is even last month or a couple months ago.
And I think some of it comes down to confusion on the agency side as to what they need to do, because I program Richmond Heights radios, and I had left Marks, MTACs, and the Kaikos and stuff in there, and they're like, well, we don't have Marks anymore. We don't need that. I'm like, well, but you can activate that if you choose to at no cost, but you got to give them our IDs. And that's how Marks has been disseminating it. If we give them our IDs, they know that they're not full-time users and they don't get billed. That's how we've been doing it. There is a little bit of confusion sometimes regarding a 189 number, because there's some agencies that have paid for the 189 numbers and have those in their radios, and it doesn't duplicate with our radio ID. And we're trying to really centralize that because when radios go missing, it's easier to identify it by one ID than it is to try and figure out what 7 IDs were in that radio for each system. But the other issue that I think relates to countywide template, and I think this is going to be one that is going to raise a little eyebrows and stuff, but from my standpoint, we've been very free with keys. The city of Cleveland, I will give a clone key to pretty much any agency that wants it, so long as there's a responsible party that's, you know, responsible for it, and that we have people that are willing to be trained and learn how to program. So I'm pretty free with it, but I've been hearing a lot of issues regarding being able to get Parma put in radios for the Parma regionals. So what I would like to know, and what I would like to question on this call or for this group, is if people are not going to be able to get keys to program their radios when they're big enough to do that, are we still going to recognize Parma as part of the countywide template, or do we need to remove that if we can't get those keys? Now, I'm not talking about me. I can do Parma whenever necessary, and Parma's been great to work with for me. But I think there's been a lot of people saying that they couldn't get Parma keys. I know Pete Green was complaining about it a while back, and some of the other agencies like Nick DeSico's group there, and Nick, I don't know if you're on the call, but maybe you could speak to that a little bit and see if you have resolved your issues. But either way, if it's not going to be part of the countywide template because people can't program it, then it can't be in the radios and be part of the countywide template, because I can't be acknowledging that, and I cannot take on the programming for the entire county to put Parma into radios because
So I'll speak on my behalf. So George has been fantastic and turned us over to Cleveland Communications. But I've tried 3 times and I've gotten no call back, no email back, nothing from them to, and I even sent them a code plug, but I've heard nothing. Zilch for about 6 months.
I don't know if it necessarily falls on Parma or Cleveland Communications. I know like Lakewood had a problem. They wanted to put our channels in their radios, and we were fine with that. The only thing we asked is an MOU, and I think everybody in this group can appreciate and will remember that there were a lot of keys that were just out there randomly, and they were getting used, unfortunately. I'm not saying for nefarious purposes, but they were getting used, just openly, and you have to, obviously Brad knows how to maintain system integrity, and so does George. And I think George, sometimes is a little bit reticent in giving keys out just for that purpose. There were a lot of cowboys back in the day that were just, grabbing keys and programming anything they wanted. And again, we're always amiable to being a part of everything, and we encourage our system being used in other radios. It's just, we're not going to randomly give somebody a key. There's some people out there on varying departments that, sent their people to a programming class in Lynchburg, Virginia, and then demanded keys so they could program their radios on the Parma system. And it's like, we're not going to just do that. There's certain people, and they actually went to a Midwestern communications supplier and got a master key from them without anybody locally's knowledge, who shouldn't have sold them that key to begin with. So I don't think it's a problem. If somebody needs a key, let us know and we can make sure it gets done. And if you don't, I think Nick said he had a problem that Cleveland Communications wasn't forthcoming on that. They're willing to do it, but we just got to make sure that the right people are calling the right people. And you can't just drop one call on them and say, hey, I need the key. And Nick, maybe you did that more than once, and I'm not saying you didn't, but if you're having a problem with it, all we ask is that somebody follow up with us, and we'll make sure it gets done. I know I can't speak for George. He's the system administrator, and I appreciate that. But I on my personal behalf, we've always been willing to do that. We have a standing MOU that we could just issue to anybody as long as you're willing to enter into the MOU. And the key's not going to be a forever key either. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's going to be a temporary key that you can use, program your radios, and it comes back. And I think that helps us maintain.
Well, that makes a ton of sense. I have no issue with that. And that's what it's just been, that, there's been a lot of that. And I don't even know if it's rightly vocal. I don't know if they're trying to control, if you guys are trying to control it based on system owners and stuff like that, or major dispatch centers, or how you're controlling it either. I don't have an issue with that. And like I said, I've had no issues. So when people tell me that, I'm like, I don't know what you're doing differently than what I did, because I met with George. We had a conversation, and within minutes, I got a call from Kyle, and we had it squared away. So I've not had that experience. So I'm absolutely not in any way, shape, or form saying that it's an issue for me. It's just I've been hearing it a lot lately, and so I just want to make sure that if there's going to be issues, and I know I've heard of temporary keys, I've heard of all kinds of things, so I don't think it's an issue, but I just want to make sure it's brought up so that if it is an issue, we can resolve it, because I know that this group does not want that to go away. So it just needs to be resolved, and whatever that resolve is. And it sounds like, TJ, you're basically saying that the same thing I've been saying, which is it's not a problem, just get it coordinated, and get with the right people. And if you don't get the results you need, get with the right people.
So that leads me, this is Arlen from Ohio Marks. So that leads me to meet, because now I'm assigned to Cuyahoga County and doing programming up here and things like that. And in the past, we have not had the Parma key to do programming, and I would have to check with our System Administrator Rick Small to see if he would even want that to happen. But what is my course of action then to get my templates done and code plugs done to make this happen? Would this be something that George and Rick need to communicate on, or what's our path in that?
Well, and I think, Arlen, I think from that standpoint, it would be much like what we would do is, or what all the other agencies around here would do. You would send your code plug to Parma. Parma would add whatever you need in it, or to me or to somebody that is part of it. So if you're programming for our customers or whatever, I don't mind doing it.
George, do you have anything? I think his mouth's moving, but I don't hear anything.
Okay, now you hear me?
Yep, got you now.
Okay. So what I would say to that is, it's real simple. Basically, all Parma gives out typically is clone keys to programmers, and that's a very fair way of doing business as far as I'm concerned. Anytime you would need a template created or whatever, you would go to either them or to me or to somebody that can do it and get the code plug designed. And I know typically Cleveland Comms will do that very quickly, and put it into your code plug, and then you could clone. You would still need to be responsible for getting that clone key from them. I'm speaking on George's behalf because he's not here, but I know that's typically the process that he's been following for agencies that are requesting that type of programming. So, okay. And I think that's the normal protocol.
Hey, Brad, he's here, but I'm sorry to interrupt, Brad. He's here, but I think he has audio problems.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was here and smiling at you as you were saying.
Okay. Well, at any rate, that's.
He might log off. Let's see if he comes back. He might log off. So let's see if he comes back, and so that we don't all try to speak for him. But
he is on.
If he doesn't,
he must be on
target of next meeting.
I just texted him. He must be muted.
The one thing that I'm concerned about.
I watched the mute, but there's just no audio. I watched the mute come off on the screen and saw his lips and music moving, but yeah, here he is. Gonna try again, George?
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It looks like
go ahead.
All right. If there's anybody who's having issues with getting programming done, I'm the one to be contacted. I know in the past, as far as Mark, Steve Garwood had full access to anything he needed for us because they were a system owner, just like Brad's a system owner. Clone keys, I have no problem getting them out. We do a quick one-page MOU, and we're done, and we can get it done. If there's any delays in getting stuff done, please contact me. I'll work with Cleveland Com, and we will get the appropriate code plugs and clone keys done at any time. I'm one of the huge advocates for the interoperability template. And until Brad said something, I wasn't aware that things were being held up at any point. So I'm happy to get things straightened out about who needs what programming and done. Please contact me directly, and I'll be happy to do that. Yes, we are a little bit resident about giving out system keys. Absolutely. Clone keys, I'm happy to work on that. They're appropriately listed. I was going to wait for the announcement section of the meeting, but I will go through and say it right now since it seems a bit appropriate. I was contacted by the Brunswick Hills Police Department yesterday. They've arrested a, we'll say, serial criminal, burglary charges, possibly attempted murder, setting his girlfriend's car on fire, etc. Well, when they've executed the arrest and search warrants, they found Motorola radios with many of our systems programmed into it. Let me pull up my quick message here.
Let's not go into too much detail because that's still a criminal investigation.
Yeah, it's still a criminal investigation ongoing, but Mark's Parma, and they haven't checked whether Cleveland was in there yet, but several systems appear to be programmed on the radios that this guy has. Where they got it, don't know yet, but again, it's still under investigation. So you heard about Stark County last year. Apparently, we're starting all over again with it. But if there's anybody having issues, Arlen, please contact me directly. Be happy to try and work out whatever you need. And anybody, Nick, I thought we had everything set up. I thought we did our, our paperwork. If there's an issue, please let me know. I'm all for the interoperability. I want everyone to keep their own radios so we don't have to keep swapping radios. And if we're pre-programmed, then there's nothing we have to do on the scene except turn knobs and press buttons.
Right. And George, I appreciate that because I'm working with RTA right now, and they've never had the Cleveland or the Cuyahoga interop template. And so I built it for their Kenwoods, and they're testing it now. So so I will definitely need to get with you. I don't remember how many total radios they have, but they're going forward with that template.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I don't mean to jump in here. Captain McAtee from Cleveland Police. Commander Brumfield, George, if we could get your number, we'd like to confer about this. We'd like some further information. Do you have a number available right now?
My office number is 440-887-7300, extension 7241.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Captain, you can contact me about anything to do with the investigation, just so you know.
Okay. Got it, Brad. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion about the countywide template, I think at least all of us here have a good understanding of it. I think that kind of moves into link layer authentication, and this came up a few months ago with county grants. And I don't know, Arlen, are you able to cover that regarding what Mark's plan is moving forward with link layer authentication, and maybe let everybody know kind of what that is?
Yep. So in April of 19, Mark's had a statewide vendor meeting, and we announced to all the radio vendors that starting July 1 of 19, they should be selling the P25 authentication or link layer authentication option in the radios, and that Mark's itself is going to migrate to that July 1, 2025. So July 1, 2025, it is the goal for Mark's to be completely with link layer authentication on all subscriber radios. Having that would alleviate the Brunswick Hill thing, the Stark County thing that I was heavily involved in, and I'll be involved with Brunswick Hills on theirs as well once I speak with the chief. If anyone has questions on that, it is going to be discussed in detail at the next SIEC meeting that is coming up on January the 27th. So it is going to be a Teams meeting on that. It starts at 10 a.m. So that email went out about 9 o'clock this morning on that. So I encourage those inquiring about that to definitely be at that SIAC Teams meeting.
And just to tack on to that a little bit, so link layer authentication is a way to double authenticate a radio, much like you have two-factor authentication for a radio to be on or for you to be on an internet or on a network. You have to call in, you get a pin back and you do it. Well, the radio does that for you automatically. So that's how you prevent people from being able to get on your network without it. Link layer authentication will not work on XTSs. So if you have XTSs, you'll need to replace them by 2025, assuming that that's the case. I don't even believe the XTLs do it. I'm not sure on that one 100%, but just speaking from the Motorola side, I know we still have a lot of XTSs on Marks and on Cleveland, and we'll be heading in that same various direction going forward. But we were a little more secure in the sense that we had hard system keys initially. So if radios were hard system keyed, they couldn't be programmed with a soft key. Any radios that you hear of that are being copied onto systems and stuff like that are being done by soft keys, not hard keys. So
Right.
it you know, to make everybody on the call aware, a soft key is basically a software file that you load on your PC, and you can cap and program any radio. So the requirement on Cleveland has always been that you have an ASCII requirement, and we would lock that key to the system so that the only way you could program it is if you had one of our hard keys. You could not change a radio without a hard key. Now, the Marks customers that get interop on Cleveland have always been exempted from having to have that ASK, because it's an interop radio. It's not, I'm not going to force somebody to do that. Marks is now choosing to force people to do link layer authentication, which is a smart practice. But because all the customers, including myself, don't have it, we can't force that. When we start buying new radios and people start doing it, they should be investing in that. If they want interoperability with Marks, they have to have it, no matter whether they're a Cleveland customer, a Parma customer, or a Marks customer. They will have to have it to have that interoperability. Their radio will not work with Marks if they don't have it. So if they go to link layer authentication, as they've stated. So just so everybody's aware, that's the ramifications of that.
Hey, Brad, is that something that can be added to an APX radio? And I'm guessing there'll be a fee with that.
Oh, absolutely. Everything, you can add it to any one of the radio vendors. It can be added. It's a big undertaking to implement, but it can absolutely be added to any of those radios. The reason it can't, I say the XTSs can't, is because they don't create flash kits for XTSs anymore. So you can't flash it into it. If you had invested in link layer authentication initially, you'd be fine. But most people didn't because it didn't exist. The other reality is almost everybody on this call that hasn't bought a new radio or has received a county radio and got a Motorola radio from the county or had purchased one prior to it, the AN models of any radio basically are discontinued by 2025 anyway. So you're going to be looking to buy new hardware by then. And you know, the rumors are out there, and I will say this publicly because I've had it happen to me already. Motorola has put out a date for radios along the way that we have already hit, where they have said that, you know, we'll do our best effort to repair these radios to this date and beyond if we can. My experience has been the beyond if we can has not happened. So be aware of that. If they say that it's January, you know, of 2019 or something like that, they meant it. So don't listen to the and beyond that you're hearing from the vendor, because I've heard it over and over again. Well, we'll service it beyond there. Don't worry about it. I sent one in the other day for a depot charge that was supposed to be done, and they sent it back saying unrepairable. We don't repair these anymore. So take it for what it is. They are officially killing radios on the date that they say they are. If you have any experience with that, that's what happened. The other thing to be aware of is all of the extreme radios. Anybody who got extreme radios that are out there that were purchased before, like the UL writers, the UL settings on radios, which was basically anything before like 2020-ish, is now no longer to be able to be FM certified or repaired FM certified, and you're no longer able to get FM batteries for those radios. So if you are a city who relies on that FM setting or on that FM certification, you need to talk with your vendor to find out what you can do to replace those radios, because and this really only applies to cities that put an emphasis on the explosion proof portion of the radio, or to cities that are like reaching out to try and meet like ISO 9000 or any of those standards to try and lower insurance rates for their cities, because they require it for part of the certifications. So just throwing that out there as well. I got that notice, and I don't know, I was going to do it under other comment, but unfortunately I have to go to another meeting that I'm late for. So if there's anything else that applies to me, ask me now, and then I'll be gone and Courtney can fill in.
Hey, Brad, since you mentioned the FM radio, this is Randy. As of 2 days ago, one, Motorola was surprised that those got discontinued, and two, they do not have a replacement or a plan for those yet. They're still trying to figure it out.
Right, and that is a true statement. But my gut feeling is that that's not really a surprise, because it's been talked about for 2 years by FM and by the people that do the FM certification. So I don't know that it's a surprise, but we'll run with Motorola's language and say it's a surprise, and that we are out there. But I will tell you this, rumor has it they've extended the FM certification repair for another 3 months till the beginning of March. So if you have Extreme radios that you're holding on to that you weren't going to get repaired, send them in now and get them repaired, because they are still FM certifying through the end of March. Because I just sent one out and got a notice that it will come back FM certified through March. So they are still repairing them as like a last time repair. So if you have any sitting on the desk that need to be repaired, now's the time to get that certification. But
All right, my microphone keeps breaking. I think it's working now.
yep, you're working.
All right. Any other announcements or other business?
Steve, it's Nick. Just looking for an update on those grant radios.
Anyone from Grants here? Because I'll butcher it. I always do. All right, I'll give it my best shot. If I can find it. I do have an update, but I don't have it here. It's probably apparently still in my office or in this giant stack of paper that I didn't get to because my computer was broke. So Nick, I'll give you a call in a little bit. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that.
Do we know if they were awarded at least, or if they're going to be coming anytime soon, or is it going to go off for rebid again, or what? Can we at least talk about that? Because it affects that affects my office. So I just need to know.
I'll get back with you too, Brett. I think it was at the state EMA is what I last recall.
So it hasn't been certified yet then, or whatever.
Yeah, but that would have been back December 10th or something. Was the last I talked to you. Yeah, December 10th. So let me check and see where it is, and I'll get back to you guys.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hey Steve, as of the 17th of December, I got an email saying Cuyahoga County is recommending Motorola Solutions as the vendor. And they were just reaching out to the agencies to confirm that they still wanted the radios. So it has been awarded. I'm not really sure where we are as far as are they on order yet, but I can look into that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? All right, there's no executive session today. Our next meeting will be March 10th at 11 a.m. I'm sure we'll be online. So with that, we have a motion for adjournment.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.